Hey, it's Pierre, lead designer with over a decade of experience, and in today's video, we'll learn how to use masks in Figma. Whether you're working on complex UI projects or just want to add a little bit of more flair to your designs, understanding how to use masks in all of its nuances can seriously level up your design workflow. So I'm going to walk you through the process step by step and show you some examples along the way, so you can see exactly how this works in real UI UX projects. And by the way, if you're looking for a clear roadmap to kickstart your journey as a UI UX designer, I've got a free ebook waiting for you in the description below. It's packed with tips and resources to help you get started in UI UX design. Alright, now without further ado, let's get right into it and let's talk masks in Figma. Explore 6 different methods that you can apply masks to your Figma projects. The first one being the image fill, which is going to be the easiest and most straightforward one. So what you want to do is to use the image fill whenever you need to just add a mask to a single image. So what you want to do in this example is to simply go on Figma, create a rectangle, and at this point, the moment that you select it, you're going to notice that under the fill, you're going to have this option right here, and that is to add an image. Now, this is the most simple way to add a mask in Figma. You can simply click and upload from your computer. So, for example, I can add this mask right here, or this image of this Instagram post, which I recently created. However, what you're going to notice is that you won't be able to basically fit it perfectly right away. So what you can do is to adjust this to crop. And at this point, you're going to be able to crop it using the Shift Command key. And you're going to essentially be able to adjust this image wherever you want within a shape. So this is going to be the very first one. The other option which you have at your disposal is simply placing an image. So you can go over here under the Figma file and then place image. And this is going to enable you to add a image directly. So this is going to essentially be another way that utilize the mask really quickly. However, this is not properly a mask in the real sense of things. So what you want to do is to also consider the third method, which is going to be whenever you need to add a mask to a specific shape. So for example, right here, we're going to apply this image to this rectangle by utilizing the mask feature. And I'm simply going to drag this one over here. And what I'm going to do is, as I have the image on top, which is the colored one, I'm going to select both of these elements, and I'm going to select here use as mask on the top right hand corner. Now, what this is going to enable us to do is to create our first real mask. So the other two options are simply going to help us to create very quick masks if we wish. However, this one is going to actually create our very first mask group, which, as you can see, the moment that we did this and performed this action, a mask group has been created, which is going to contain the mask in and of itself. So we're going to leverage, in this case, the bottom rectangle. As you can see, these are not actions which are permanent, because you can very easily adjust these masks and these layers so that it's going to be autonomous, and you can also undo this as we're going to see in just a moment. But basically the way it works is very simple. You're going to have the base layer that is going to be used for the mask. And you can see that this is the base layer because we have this very small arrow that is pointing up to the layer above, which is the masked one, which of course is going to be the image in and of itself. So in order to undo this, you can actually simply ungroup this mask group. However, you're going to notice that we need to perform one more action, and that is going to be to detach the base mask. So we're going to click on the rectangle, which is the base rectangle. And what we're going to do is we're going to click on remove mask. And this is going to essentially enable us to go back to square one. So this is going to be applicable whenever you're working on masks. Now, the fourth method is going to be the ability to apply masks to typography. Now, this requires one step further, which we're going to see right here. So we're going to apply this image to this typographic element and combine them to create this mask. And what we need to do before we do that is this preliminary step, which is going to be selecting the typographic level. And we're going to click on outline stroke. Now, what this basically enables us to do is to have these elements as outline strokes, so as vector, instead of a text element. Now, at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to bring this on top, and I'm simply going to make sure that it's going to fit. And at this point, I'm going to select both of these elements, and I'm going to click on Use as Mask. And as you can see, nonetheless, we managed to create the mask once again. So quite straightforward. And I also want to discuss another method, which is going to be the Boolean Operations. And this is going to enable you to add one more element in order to create even more complex masks and specific visual outcomes. So in order to create an element like this, we're going to deal with Boolean Operations, which is going to be quite simple. So at this point, in this example, we're going to have these two elements, this rectangle and this ellipse or circle. And what we're going to do is I'm going to bring the ellipse almost to intersect the rectangle. And what we are going to explore is the Boolean operation, which is on the top right-hand corner. So at this point, at the moment that we click on this small arrow, you're going to see all the Boolean operations that we can utilize. And for the very most part, they're going to be quite straightforward. I'm going to start with union, which as you can see, it's going to unite and combine these two elements. And the second one is going to be subtract, which, as you can see, it subtracted the element. And be mindful of the order and the placement, because if you bring this element towards the front, you're going to essentially subtract the other element. So the order is going to be really important whenever you're dealing with Boolean operations. And I'm going to use Command Z in order to just very briefly show you also the intersect, which is going to intersect the two layers in between, as well as the exclude, which is going to exclude. So it's basically going to cut in that section, which was previously an intersect. And the very last option is going to be flatten, which is simply going to flatten them both within this vector element. So this is going to be for the Boolean operations, and then we're going to add it. Then we're going to move on to masking images, which is going to be quite straightforward. First of all, you want to have an image which is likely going to be a PNG, which essentially has a transparent background. So this is going to be the important prerequisite. If you want to extract the background from an image, you can use a plugin such as remove.bg, which you can find in the plugin section in Figma, or any of these background removers really. So once you have the image without the background, then you can go ahead and basically apply this effect and this mask. So I'm going to have the image here on top, and then I'm going to apply this element to cover all the way towards the bottom of the image. And I'm going to bring this rectangle above. So what we're going to do is we're going to select once again both of these elements, and we're going to simply use the mask feature. And as you can see, we now have the mask applied to this element. So this is pretty much it. Now you are a ninja when it comes to cut. This is pretty much it when it comes to masking Figma. You have many tools at your disposal in order to create masks effects of all sorts. And I want to remind you that I recently launched a free ebook on how to get started in UI UX design, where I'm showing you the entire roadmap and the main lessons that I've learned over the past decade working in this field for large enterprises all the way to startups with their first round of funding. So if you're interested in learning more about the industry, feel free to check it out, and I'll see you in the very next video.